Hello, Feuzion. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alex Hughes on this awesome Wednesday morning. We have a big show right now. On the phone now, Mike Vaccaro, who is a New York Post writer. Mike, how are you doing this morning?
Good, Alex. How are you?
Good. So with the New York Yankees last night, they won a nail-biter game against divisional rival, the Toronto Blue Jays. So where do you see this New York Yankees team going forward? And is this Yankee team in the wild card hunt or even in the division hunt now?
Well, sure, the math is there. I mean, they're within 3.5 of the wild card, 4.5 of the division, and those are certainly manageable numbers. The problem lies in the fact that they have to climb over a number of teams, and they don't have a very easy schedule. Except for a couple of games against the Tampa Rays, they really have a very challenging schedule the rest of the way. But that said, you start, you win a game like last night, and you start thinking about the possibility of this team maybe have a little bit of magic, and it's going to be fun to watch. That's the nice thing about having meaningful September games is that even if it doesn't work out for you in the end, at least you have a pretty fun journey to talk about on the way there.
Definitely, yeah. So going forward, how do you think the Yankee bullpen is going to be worked out? And how do you think Tommy Lane will be used, as Joe Girardi has been using him as a top left-hander now?
Yeah, I think it's just another example of what Girardi does best, which is, I know people like to rip him, and I know that yesterday he used about 9 relievers in the 8th inning, but he really does know how to handle a bullpen better than anybody. I think that's borne out both by what happens over the course of the regular season, and also just the way that the pitchers emerge. And he's just one of the guys you've seen emerge under his auspices. I mean, it's kind of interesting to watch because every year you seem to get a guy like that. It just kind of emerges into a reliable, steady bullpen force. And to Girardi's credit, he knows how to maximize that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Mike, we're going to switch gears to the New York Mets. And the Mets, a lot of Mets fans were worried that the Mets were done a few weeks ago as they were losing a bunch of games against the bad teams that they should have been beating. So where do you see the Mets going forward in the wild card hunt, of course, for them?
Well, you know what? They have to take advantage of the schedule they have. They got 3 games of the Nationals next week, and other than that, they have nothing but winnable games. Even the games in Miami against the Marlins that essentially a week ago looked like they were going to be hard games, and the Marlins are 3 games that are 500 now, and they're tanking. So I mean, the Mets are going to have to take advantage of what they've been doing. What they've been doing is taking advantage of teams like the Reds, the Phillies. That's something they weren't doing even as recently as 2-3 weeks ago. You mentioned the fact that they lost a bunch of games to the Diamondbacks and to the Padres, and that's just not a good way to get in position for a postseason run. And yet they managed to do it anyway. Doing it against good teams. They took 2 games against the Giants, 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, so 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. So it's always been the trick for the Mets this year. If you can play as well against the bad teams as you do against the good teams, they're starting to do that now.
And the Mets called up the #1 draft pick from 2012 this year, Gavin Sahenchi. So do you see Gavin being a possible second baseman going forward with the injuries at the second base position this year?
Well, he certainly is an intriguing talent, and he had a very good year this year. And the scouts have been talking about him ever since the Mets picked him.
Yeah.
Right now, of course, I mean, you're probably not going to supplant Cabrera at short. Second base is kind of a mixed bag, but Kelly Johnson's a veteran who that Terry Collins likes to rely on. But he's a guy who's definitely going to be there as a bat off the bench. That's really what you need right now. When you get into these games, a lot of times you get a lot of these 3.5, 4-hour games because both teams are using 7-8 pitchers, and they're using 7-8 pinch hitters. But when you're fighting to win every game, that's what you have, and I think that's going to be where CD's value is going to be this year. Going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. They're probably going to have Reyes back next year. You would think if he's not playing third base, he might play second base. And you'll be interested to see what they do with Walker. All that stuff is going to come into play to see what his immediate future is with this team.
Yeah, definitely I have to agree with that. Okay, Mike, before I wrap up this interview, I want to ask you, both New York baseball teams are in the wild card hunt. Who do you think has a better chance of winning the wild card this year?
I think that the math tells you it's the Mets because, for one thing, they're in the next position behind the two wild card teams. So the next team they jump, they'll be in the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
And also because, like I said earlier, they have such a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
The Yankees took a bunch of games up with the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays, and they also get 3 games with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
That's nobody's idea of an easy stretch. Yeah. And you also have to, forget about the fact that how many games behind they are. They still have to jump the Tigers, the Astros, and then the Orioles in order to get the playoff position. Mm-hmm. And those are teams that are, all 10, 11 games over 500. So it can happen, but I think right now if you're going to ask them to pick one of the two, it's going to be the Mets.
Okay. Okay, Mike, I want to say thank you for coming on the Sports Fusion episode this morning.
No, it's great talking. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Have a nice day.
You too.
Okay, Feuzion, you just heard it from Mike Vaccaro, who is a New York Post reporter, and I asked him the main question, who has a better chance of making the playoffs this year, and he said the Mets of the New York baseball teams. Okay, Feuzion, I'll be back live at 1:30 with a big show. Thank you for watching. I will see you later today.